Hey Les, Daunt here. Let's cut to the chase. Dauntless has probably had one of the hardest fall-offs I've ever seen. This game used to be kind of respectable, but let's just say it ain't no more. And the servers, they're gone. The game got shut down, like in late May. I'll be honest, I hadn't have played this game in a while just before it shut down, but I've always had a soft spot for this game. For those of you who don't know, it's basically just a free-to-play Monster Hunter game with like Fortnite graphics, minus the wacky skins. Originally, this game was really well received. Pretty much everyone had nothing bad to say about it. I remember installing and playing this game day one because of that Russian Badger video. I like this game an unreasonable amount. Like, I bought this thing day one, which is like unheard of. Like, there's games I actively play and don't buy the battle pass for. I mean, I hate battle passes like a Warhammer fan hates having a shower, you know what I'm saying? I even played this game in lockdown like all the time. It was like my thing. I'm kind of a Dauntless real one. I literally stopped talking to everyone I knew for a whole week just to grind Dauntless. But let's get the story right from the beginning, okay? The original reason Dauntless was even made was so there'd be a Monster Hunter game on PC, as all the other Monster Hunters were in fact locked to some sort of console back in the ancient year of 2017.
Kill me later.
Unlike now where you can run Monster Hunter Wilds at a wonderful 10 FPS. So they began working. A small team of BioWare, Blizzard and Riot Games employees, back when these companies were still respected and not stealing a certain kind of milk out of employee fridges. And despite being a small team, they had big ideas. You see, they wanted to make Dauntless more MMO themed. In Monster Hunter, you can just beat everything solo, whereas in Dauntless, they kind of wanted people to work together as a team. They wanted that social element, as well as making it free to play, so all Minecraft kids would be able to play. And of course, there'd be microtransactions, but just cosmetic. We're not affecting gameplay or anything, right? But then Monster Hunter World was announced, which was going to come to PC. So that whole original selling point was just kind of, yeah, it was gone. But instead of getting discouraged, they kind of leaned into it. They thought, you know, Dauntless is different enough, you know, it's kind of goofy. You can play them both, and they're both different experiences. It's definitely an argument of all time to be had, but regardless, the game came out on PC and consoles in 2019 after a period of closed playtests, and it was pretty awesome. Despite being inspired by Monster Hunter, it had a lot of its own stuff going on. It had its own weapon types, as well as ripping off Monster Hunter weapons like Twink Blades and the generic sword. I mean, how are you not going to have a big sword in a game like this, dude? It's a fantasy game. But Dauntless had the sword, it had the hammer, the spear, the dual blades, the guns, the axe, and later on down the line, they even added some cool fisticuffs for all you Yakuza fans out there. It's a bit more of a limited selection, but once again, they all their own unique properties and special moves. Like, the spear straight up shot a missile. How is that not awesome? But what is the gameplay? Well, you can drop into a small open world map and collect things for crafting, like lance or white monster. I don't know, I can't think of a joke. All whilst you search for the monster with your crack team of dudes from matchmaking. Well, that was when the game was alive. When I went back to play, this thing was dead as hell. Once one of you finds it, you can shoot a flare and everyone will know where you are, so they can start ganking it. Whether it be a big beaver, a dog, a beetle with the power of the Chernobyl reactor. See, they did copy one or two monsters in design, but a majority of them feel very unique and cool. The stealth attack helicopter bug, or famous streamer Shroud, who is a big bird. And of course, something pretty key to mention is all these different monsters had elemental types like fire, light, dark, green, yada yada. They all help to determine what kinds of weapon and armor you'd need to bring to get your bonuses, damage and resistance. But these armor sets would also have full set bonuses, and I'm just explaining what happens in Monster Hunter, aren't I? Yeah, it's basically the same. But it was my first Monster Hunter game, and I just loved it. It's probably a lot of people's first experience with that entire genre, to be honest. It's way more fast-paced for a hunter type game. Yeah, that's right, I made that. With matches lasting around half as long compared to Monster Hunter World. A lot less of an endurance test and more of just, you know, it hits the highlight. There were other missions as well, like Trials and Escalation. Escalation making the game into like a roguelike gauntlet for each element of monster and having a unique endgame boss for that game mode alone. This was what I was grinding in lockdown, man. I was unreasonably high level in the Umbral variant because the armors from this game mode were so incredibly grindy too. You'd need hundreds of material, I swear. And there was Trials as well, which is just a 1v1 with a really high level hardcore monster, but I was never good enough to do that. All of this was slowly added to the game after release until the updates slowed down around 2021 and became just seasonal updates and battle passes, maybe the odd event, but you know, they need their money from the battle pass, so of course that got most of the attention. Of course, they needed as much as possible. It's a free-to-play game, you know, but it's all cosmetic, no gameplay. Now, I'd say these early stages of COVID were the game's peak. I mean, it had the most content that was all the most fresh it ever was, and everyone being locked inside all the time, that boosted every player count, you know what I mean? That boosted the player count of like Tomato Way. And this is also the time I probably clocked the most hours, because when I first came out, you know, I played it for probably a solid like 20 or 30, but I don't even want to think about how many hours I had in COVID, dude. I was a slime ball. I was not showering for this thing. I mean, this was like me and my friendship group's game, you know, this was the game we played for a little while, and for good reason. It was good with friends, and it was was just plain and simple fun. I didn't even end up finishing all the content. Like, I didn't do all the trials and stuff. I never even managed to getting around to getting all the escalation boss armors because of how insanely grindy they were, but I think it was still good. As with all Golden Ages, they have to end. And after this point is when the game, in my opinion, started to peter out. I mean, the game is still going strong, but it just doesn't have the staying power for your average player. So they went to go do other things. My friends and myself included, even I stopped playing Dauntless at this point because it just gets stale to a casual player. It's not as hard as Monster Hunter to collect everything. Dauntless heads, don't jump me in the comments. Please, please, please. No, this slow drop-off continued until the day of fate arrived. In 2023, the developer of Dauntless, Phoenix Labs, were bought by a little company, a silly little company called Forte Labs. And if you don't know who they are, they're a blockchain company. It might be over. It might. And this began a new problem for Dauntless, which they had never faced before. The pressure from above, because these guys, they wanted Dauntless to become another blockchain extraordinaire. And what does that even mean? I don't know. The monsters would have been Bored Apes or whatever slop NFTs or, you know, whatever crypto slop was popular at the time. The point is, looking back in history, whenever these blockchain companies get involved with anything, it never ends well. But the devs, they didn't give in. They kept pushing back against these blockchainers, and as such they began working on something else, a new project that would bring Dauntless back to its second gold age. More players than ever, more microtransactions than ever. I mean, the game wasn't doing bad now, but it would be better than ever, and it wasn't long until they were ready for release. Towards the end of last year, they released a brand new overhaul for Dauntless to coincide with its release on Steam. All those lovely new and old players would flock for these revolutionary overhauls, like deleting every weapon from the game and resetting everyone's progress back to zero. So, for the first time since my lockdown phase, I returned to the game that I had once loved just to see how butchered it had become, and yeah, whew, those Steam reviews ain't lying, man. That's what prompted me to make this video in the first place, was I remembered how low the ratings were. I was like, what happened? What made everyone so angry? And yeah, so clearly the blockchain company had more impact than previously had been thought, because this game was a mess, okay? It was a cash grab. I mean, they had always been eager and stuff with battle passes. It had become ridiculous, okay? They had removed every weapon from the game that you used to have, with the excuse that they wanted movesets to feel deeper and more meaningful. So now you get one of each weapon type, each one with its own elemental weapon type set, so you can't switch. If your main weapon is an element that matches what you need to fight, you'd have to try something you didn't like, or suck it up and put yourself at a disadvantage now. And all the loot you spent hours upon hours grinding was just a reskin. But of course you could always, oh, I don't know, you know, buy some currency, buy a shiny new awesome weapon like this Edgelord sword with Virgil dashes, or like the Death Beam spear. And all your old armor was reset back to level 1. And I don't know about you, but I do not want to regrind armor levels again. Luckily, I had a ton of old materials I used to just upgrade, but the fact I had to do that, it's just kind of insulting to the player. Now, this being said, is the gameplay of this Awakened update any different? Nah, not really. Like I said, it was just kind of a downgrade in every way. But the sad thing is, the game was still kind of fun, especially since I just maxed out my weapon and the game makes you fight these low-level bosses again. I had a great time just killing all the low-level monsters until I got to the high-level ones, and my level 1 armor just got me one shot over and over, and then my only choice was to grind on a game that was about to shut down or just stop playing. Even now as a husk, the game was still somewhat enjoyable in its last few days, even if it was completely gutted of all charm, personality, gameplay, progression. Wait, that's kind of a lot. Also, side note, this level feels really weird and washed out, and I kind of hate it. I have no idea what happened here, but hey, there's worse problems at hand. Kind of like the fact that after this absolute failure of a revamping, Forge Labs decided to lay off all the staff at Phoenix Labs, so now the game had zero support, and there was the EOS statement, and it shut down. God, I hate live service games. All because of some stupid company that just ripped it apart, shuffled it around because they didn't understand what was happening, until the game was just something completely different, throwing aside its former identity just for money. Oh, and here's a bonus for me using all my leftover premium currency on this loot box thing. Yep, that's a banner print. I definitely hate this game now. The good thing is, I suppose, if there is any at all, that it seems like they did disable the in-game purchases towards the end of it shutting down, so no 9-year-old could funnel money into a fire trying to get the epic anime weapons or waste them on these gambling crates before it shut down. So yeah, good job, I guess. Now, I want to make something clear. I was never like a super sweat at Dauntless. This isn't like Overwatch to me, where it's like something I put countless hours in. I never really got to that stage in Dauntless. It wasn't a game I played for years. I mean, you know, I have decent amount of hours in it, but nothing compared to like some of the other people. I mean, it was my comfort game in lockdown, but it's still sad to see it stripped down of all joy. You know, it's just heartbreaking. I can only imagine how endgame players and like the people on the scoreboards, like the really dedicated fans, feel after giving years years to this game, only for it to be swept away in like a few months. It still baffles me. They would remove basically all the game's depth to make it pay to win. I mean, surely you could have kept weapon crafting to some extent, like make the paid weapons, you know, mega fart rarity or something, but then nope, they fumbled it. It's kind of like Destiny 2 when they just sunset all their content when Beyond Light started because the meta was so stale. I'm just so tired of watching all these games I used to play just tear themselves apart, you know, tear them to shreds. Hell, Dauntless devs made it a talking point they'd never be pay to win, but then those crypto bros, they came along and they destroyed everything for those devs, for us, and now it's all over. But in conclusion, yeah, my bad. I'll upload again.